Okay, welcome to a new episode of Nate's MMA Corner. I'm Nate, and if you watch my show, you're in my corner. Today's episode is a pre-fight show for UFC Fight Night, Lewis versus Hunt, heavyweight clash of the ages. I am so looking forward to this one. Big fan of both these guys, more so with Derek Lewis. Sorry Mark Hunt if you're watching this. Okay, so there's a pre-fight rundown of the main card with my predictions. So let's get started. This will be a quick rundown with predictions because we've got 6 explosive fights on this card. So the heavyweight, the main events in the heavyweight division with Derek the Black Beast Lewis going up against Mark Super Samoan Hunt. And wow, man, we're going to see, I think, a knockout in this one, and I'm predicting 4th round knockout because I think Mark Hunt can take a lot of heavy shots, but he's going to gas out in those later rounds, and Derek Lewis can go 5 rounds. He may not look like it, but he can, and I think he's just going to eventually, in the 3rd round, start teeing off on Mark Hunt, and then Mark Hunt's going to barely survive that 3rd round, and then round 4, Derek Lewis is going to finish him off, and then get a big TKO win. The ref's going to pull him off, and then Derek Lewis is going to say something flashy that's going to make the crowd laugh and all love him, even though it's in Mark Hunt's neck of the woods. And then Derek Lewis is going to get a big fight, maybe a top 5 guy in his next fight, and it'll be on a major pay-per-view or another main event on a fight night. And so there's my prediction for this main event. I know that's a lot to sink in, but that's my prediction. Okay, then in the middleweight division, we have Derek Brunson versus Dan Kelly. I went back and forth on this one, but you know what? I'm going to go with Dan Kelly because it seems like every time people pick against him, or I pick against him, or something, is against him, he wins. And Dan Kelly is one of those guys I think we're overlooking here, and I think he can take some hard shots. And then I think he could knock out Derek Brunson. I think he wears out Derek Brunson here. And if anything, rocks him with some shots and then gets him with the judo throw, because Dan Kelly is just, he's a world-class judo guy. So I think Derek Brunson's wrestling gets thrown out the window here, especially in the later rounds. And I could see both guys really duking it out in this fight. I'm going with Dan Kelly by decision on this one. This was a tough one to pick. I could be wrong on this one. I think Derek Brunson has a chance at pulling this off. I'm only giving Dan Kelly a 51% chance of winning this fight. And then I think if Dan Kelly does win this fight, it's by decision, possibly by a knockout. If he does get a finish, it'll be by knockout. I don't think it'll be a submission. But yeah, nonetheless, I'm giving Dan Kelly a 51% chance of winning this by decision. Then in the lightweight division, we have Dan Hooker versus Ross Pearson. Dan Hooker, great submission guy. Ross Pearson, good takedown defense. However, I got to go with Dan Hooker here. I think he's had less wear and tear on his body. He's a talented guy. If you have Fight Pass and you've watched his fights in the UFC, this guy, he goes for finishes. Ross Pearson's a brawler. He'll go for slugging it out for 15 minutes. And I think just stylistically, Dan Hooker's going to eventually, if he does get rocked, he's going to be that much more wanting to get the finish here. And so I think Dan Hooker gets the finish here. But this is a tough fight to pick because Ross Pearson is a tough, durable veteran and Ultimate Fighter winner. But for some reason, I just think Dan Hooker gets it done here. Then in the light heavyweight division, we have Ion Cutelabra. Yeah. Ion Cutelabra here, Ion Cutelaba versus Enrique da Silva, both tough, durable UFC veterans. I gotta go with Cutelaba. 1st round knockout. He has big, heavy hands. These are 2 big light heavyweights. Enrique da Silva has definitely a fighter's chance at winning this fight, but for some reason, just the demeanor at the weigh-ins, Ion had me convinced that he wants this win and he gets this win. So I'm picking Ion by 1st round knockout here. Yeah, 1st round knockout. Then in the flyweight division, we have Tim Elliott versus Ben Wen. And this one, I think, is one of the easiest fights to pick on the card. Ben is a talented guy, but Tim Elliott went 5 rounds, was one of the greatest pound-for-pound fighters in the world, Demetrius Johnson, and he won the Ultimate Fighter in his respective season, one of the latest seasons of the Ultimate Fighter, and his victory on the show got him a title shot against Demetrius Johnson. And yeah, he went the distance with Demetrius Johnson, and that fight, I was kind of worried for Demetrius Johnson. Would he get to that 10th title defense? You know, because that was, I believe, his 9th, and he needed that one and one more to get to that 10th and tie the all-time record. So now he just needs one more to break the all-time record. But nonetheless, yeah, Tim Elliott is a talented guy, and I think he's gotten better over time. I mean, in his first run in the UFC, he went on a losing streak, and then they cut him. But now I think he's learned from those mistakes, and his current stint in the UFC is looking a lot better for him, and I think he gets it done here. I think his high caliber wrestling and grappling skills gets it done here. And so I got Elliott by submission round 2. I think he goes for some crazy submission once he gets him to the ground, and eventually gets it, but I think Ben puts up a fight the first round, and then the second round, Tim Elliott gets it done. Then, in the featherweight division to kick off the main card, we have Alexander Volkanovski versus Mizuta Hirota. Yeah, this one, you know what, like, I'm going to Volkanovski in this one, because I watched the Ultimate Fight, well, it wasn't called the Ultimate Fighter, but it was Road to the Octagon, Japan, or whatever, the UFC show. It was essentially an Ultimate Fighter, but, you know, the Japanese version, and it had a different formula with a tournament. And Mizuta, I mean, he was somewhat impressive, but he had hits and misses. And I think Alexander Volkanovski has just looked more impressive to me overall. And so I think Volkanovski gets it done by unanimous decision, and he mixes things up, and he might get 1 or 2 takedowns in the 3 5-minute rounds, but I think he wins on points here. Maybe he gets a takedown and then gets Mizuta worried about takedowns to the point where he keeps guard down, and then Alexander lights him up like Christmas tree. But nonetheless, I think Alexander gets it done here by unanimous decision. So there you have it, folks. That wraps up my pre-fight show with predictions of this fantastic main card. Stay tuned for it on Fox Sports 1. And then in the coming days, of course, watch for my post-fight show to see if I was right, wrong, in my post-fight reactions and responses. So until then, see ya.